Good afternoon, folks. I'm Dan. Little shop update real quick. Friday afternoon here, and I just haven't put out anything all week. I've been busy with other stuff, and so I thought I'd give you a little update of what's going on. Atlas Lathe, fifth bearing, and flanging dies are the three things I'm going to talk about. The Atlas Lathe project, haven't made a whole lot of progress. Started fitting up the saddle to it, and I've just gotten started on that. Haven't done a whole lot, but I'll get back on that here in the next week or so. Fifth bearing for the Corvair engine. The pattern for that is basically done. I've got a little bit of final sanding to do, but this is, and I've got get another coat of sealer on it. I don't have the back sealed yet, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty well done. I got the boss installed for the oil line, and got some parts ordered for that. So we'll finish the mock-up of that, and then this will be ready to cast. So I'll get a couple of castings up working on this. Question the other day I got about what alloy I was casting it with. It'll be 356 aluminum. It'll be virgin alloy. You know, we're not going to mess around with using any of my scrap alloy that I've acquired. We're just gonna to be a flight engine why we want it to be the best quality I can make it. So it will be 356 alloy, and we'll heat treat that when we're done. So there's that. Flanging dies. I started updating the website a little bit. The flanging dies are just about ready. I think I've got 3 sets ready that I'm going to go ahead and load them onto the website and show them in stock. After that, I'm going to leave them at the price they are and kind of set them up as a pre-order, and I'll kind of explain that on the website a little bit more. It'll be at hillsgun.com, and in the shop there why it shows those flanging dies. I haven't loaded new pictures. A couple of them I've got right here. I don't have the 115 millimeter I'm still working on, and the 95 millimeter I'm doing the final finish on them. Had some problems with them. The composite decking that I was using to build them out of, they've changed it. The properties of it are the same. It's made out of the same material, but they've changed dimensions on it. So the dies that I originally built that I've used for years and years are not the same dimensions anymore. They've made them thinner. So I think they're charging more for them and making them thinner. But so I've had to decide what I'm doing with materials and bonding them together. So now all of the dies are laminated, whereas before the 51 millimeter, the 65 millimeter, and the 95 millimeter were each half was one piece. So this was one thickness of material, and this was one thickness of material. And that's changed now. Everything's laminated together. So there's 2 layers. Actually, there's 2 layers on both of these, and then they're machined down. And we had some trouble with them bonding together. So now not only are they bonded together, but they're also bolted together. So there's bolts inside them, and it'll be that way on every one of the dies. On the 65 millimeter die, on the 701, why the diameter of the die was too large to fit between the flanges on the ribs when we formed them in the places where they went. And same way with the 51 millimeter. I narrowed down, and they're easy. You just sand them off, hit them with your belt sander and sand them off. Since now they have bolts through them and they're bolted together, and you can't see the bolts from let me get one of the new ones. Since you can't see the bolts from the outside of them, they're all finished out like that. What I've done on the 65 millimeter is they'll be marked, and they're just a line on both sides. And those outer edges are where there's no bolts to interfere. So on the bottom die, you can sand them down and use those as your reference line. You'll have to decide for yourself how comfortable you are, how much you need to narrow those down, if you need to narrow them down at all for your project. But they are marked, so you're not going to get into trouble if you sand down to those lines or in that area of those lines. So you're not going to run into any fasteners holding them together. On the upper piece, if you need to narrow it down, it doesn't matter. The fasteners are in the center, so it's any place you go around the outside is going to be fine. And it's that way on any of the dies. I think the only other one you may have any issues with are the 51 millimeter, and it's a small enough die, and actually I don't have any bolts through this. This is not this in the outer ring is just the way it is. Now I may very well add probably only 2 bolts through and put them underneath. And if I do that, I'll just put an orientation line down the outside to show where those are. So I've not bolted those together yet, and I haven't decided if it's really necessary. That's not a very big die. It's not going to take a whole lot of pressure to run those flanges, so I'm not sure it's really necessary in that die. But all the rest of them have fasteners through them. The 51 millimeter, or the 115 millimeter die, we had one of those that let go and did not hold together. Let me grab my 115 millimeter die. And the way I originally built these was, it was a full thickness of the material, and then I had 3/4 inch oak backing on both sides. And this die has always been big enough that it's a laminated piece. It's two pieces that were bonded together, and I've never had any trouble with this, and I think I've got about 6 sets of these out now, and we've only had one of them that we had problems with. I went back and kind of redesigned that, and I haven't decided on the final way I'm going to do that. Originally I went to this lighter material, which I could get in a wide enough sheet to where I was laminating 3 pieces of that together, and I'm not sure I like that. I don't know that I like the way they laminate together. So I've got some almost done both ways, so I'm going to play with them a little bit. I think I'm probably going back to this design out of this other material, which is actually the darker material in these, and the colors are going to vary on these depending on what's available when I order material for them. But this is actually a 2-piece. My original thought was we're going to bolt them together like we did the bigger ones, but I've got a method to band around the outside of this material, and I may very well do that. I think I know either way will hold up just fine. It's just which one I'm going to decide to use. So haven't made a final decision on that. I've got some, like I say, built both ways, so we'll see what I do the final product. I'll be machining the rest of those to finish dimensions this weekend, so I'll make the decision on what they're going to go. It's going to be a cosmetic thing, I think, more than anything else. I don't think there's going to be any difference in strength or function of them. So we'll make that decision. I think I'm still going to use the composite material on the bottom. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, that's the update on those. They'll be loaded on the website this weekend. I haven't loaded new pictures with the new dies on them, but I'll probably get that done over the weekend too. And I'll put out a video on the way I recommend you use them, because I've got some very definite ideas now after we've gotten a little more feedback on these dies about how I think they should be used and orientation and that type of thing. So I'll shoot a video out of that. That'll be out here this next week, I'm sure. And anybody that does order dies, though, the video will be out before you get your dies. I think I've got, like I say, by beginning of the week, I'll have 3 sets ready to go at least. And the rest I'll just leave on pre-orders. I think I'm going to leave them in a pre-order status on the website until either the 10th or the 15th of the month. And then I'm going to reassess just what time's invested in material cost on them. I've been prototyping up till this point in time, so I'm going to change that around a little bit and get a little more firm idea of what it takes to manufacture. I think they're going to take a bump in price. It's not going to be a very big jump, but I think it is going to go up a little bit to make it profitable for me to make them. And I think hopefully I can still provide you with a good product that will do a real good job and last through at least one airplane project, if not 2 or 3. So as I've said before, I'm very happy with the dies. Mine were built back in 2008, and they work just as well as when I first built them. You know, I've got no complaints with them at all. So I think it's really a good value as opposed to having steel dies built or aluminum dies if you have to source those. So anyway, I'll leave it to your discretion. If you think it's something you can use, I appreciate it. They'll be on the website and available, and we'll give you an update. I don't know what I've got coming out over the weekend, if anything, but we'll be back in schedule. I've been spending most of my time working on these dies. I wanted to get them back up and running and in stock, so they'll be out there. So anyway, if you've got any suggestions or comments, leave them in the comment section for me below, and thanks for taking the time to watch.